Hello.
Welcome to the Bear Trap podcast with myself, Lucian Black, and my offsider.
And we got a very special guest today. I think this guy's probably forgotten more songs than than most people have ever made in their life. It's 100%. Rob Shaker.
Rob Shaker, welcome.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, you know it, I'm back, killing the game. A rap villain, I smash these cats, melons for change. The cat pillar with Mac 10s in the safe. I go totally ballistic if cats mention my name. I body any beat that I'm getting from Rob Shaker, Jawbreaker, SBX on the cut, we in Australia. I'm Darth Vader if these stars want war. I do a show in any country and they call encore.
Rob Shaker, deadly, murderous, I know you heard of us.
It's Hercules.
Nobody's serving it.
SBX on the cup.
Murderous, I know you heard of us. Down killers, motherfucker.
Chick game, I'm above it, it's combat.
What's going on, bro?
Cheers.
Yeah. So
Got
to have a quick beer to get started. I was really excited to talk to you because one thing I'd just like to say to start off, if it wasn't for this guy and Shakedown Studios, that's a huge part of how Bipolar started. It's a huge part about how I started. The actual going into a professional studio and hearing what you can sound like just gave me so much inspiration to move on. So thanks for that, man.
Oh, anytime.
And I hope you can do that for way more people.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about just to start off with, so how did the whole Shakedown Studio thing come about, like, originally?
I guess there's like a long answer and a short answer.
Yeah.
But basically, I was working out of my backroom studio, and I was very fortunate enough in around 2011 to tour full time with Draft. I was working at Harvey Norman at the time, and I was spending 30 plus hours a week in the studio, and still working my ass off at a day job. And, he called me up, and I was jaded at the time. I was like, fuck, I've done this for 7 years.
Fuck this job.
And Paulie was like, you want to come on tour and DJ for us? So I was like,
Yes.
drop the mic,
Yeah,
pop this shit,
that's
and
it,
just
yes.
walked out.
Bye, Harvey.
Yeah, exactly right. So I became full-time musician in 2011, and it was like pretty obvious that in between tours, I had enough work to be going full on in the studio.
Yeah.
There was enough people backed up, and I guess I was fortunate enough because I was working so much in the studio at the time when I was working a job that I had enough clientele.
Yep.
And then I came back from a tour in 2013, and in that particular tour I was DJing for Paulie. I was the tour manager. I was DJing for Enfa. DJing for Bits, and I was
a lot of work.
Wow, what a lot of names. Enfa's dope. 1200 Techniques.
Oh, man, he's a legend.
Yeah.
And so I came back and I had a good amount of money, and I was like, that's it. We're going to make the
Shakedown
transition
Studio.
to a studio that's not inside my house.
Yeah.
And so
because that's a little bit weird, isn't it? Like, having the separate space for the studio as opposed to right in your living room or whatever.
Well, all the dudes that I'd record with in my house, I knew them all.
Yeah.
They were mates. Because it was all just work for mates. And at first I was doing it for free. And then there'd be dudes like, man, I'm working on an album.
Yeah.
Work on it. I'm like, I can, but I'm also working on my mates and this, man, and that. And they're like, I'll pay you, man. What is it? I'm like, oh, you'll pay me? All right, well, fuck those guys.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, supply demand.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, there's dudes that I don't even know who are coming through my house. And I'm like, just step over my dog.
Yeah. And it's also too good because you can separate work from home as well.
Yeah.
In a sense, even though it's at the back, at least you can separate your family time and also work time as
the
well.
hard part is the balance there.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
You have to schedule time to have.
Well, sometimes you just want to get back in the studio because you know there's work to do.
And you're
other
excited about
times-
something and
Other times I'll be like, I know I've got some work to do, but I just want to hang with my family. So.
Yeah. 100%.
So 2013, we were looking at properties that had a big enough space out the back that was brick building that could be soundproofed. And so even though I hate the house I live in, it's fucking 70s.
How long after you studying was this, or was it before?
I finished my degree in 2003. It's fucking 20 years ago, man.
Yeah,
was that
Makes me feel fucking old.
Was that a TAFE or through uni? Or
SAE.
SAE, oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. He went to SAE.
I went to SAE, yeah.
Apparently he missed one of your lectures. He was spewing.
Yeah, I was on the bus. We were in the amphitheatre there, and I saw this post and I'm like, what the fuck? I left the studio and I didn't even know. No one told us. Yeah, I was
There's
pretty
a couple
dirty
of them
about
that were
that.
real stiffers. Like the first one I went in to do at SAE was about how to make a career in music in WA.
Yeah.
And I fucking spent ages on it.
Yeah.
And I
PowerPoints
was
the
like,
whole lot.
I was like, man, these kids are going to get a lot from this. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like fucking little shits falling asleep in it.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, it depends on the drive as well. You know what I mean? How much you really want.
I think for a lot of people doing a degree in anything, not even just in music or whatever, is especially like young guys, they're doing it as a way to get their parents off their back.
oh, for sure.
And
That's
go
why
on,
they drop out so
and
quick.
go on. Music is like it's something that they think will be fun, and they won't have to study it. And
Yeah.
I started at 34. I went to SA at 34.
Yeah, right. So when did you finish?
I finished in 2017, 18, 19, 2019.
Oh, so very recently.
Yeah, recently,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and then it was just through music and like literally meeting people outside having cigarettes, and then I met Harry, so Lodax and Satellite Jack, and they said, "Oh, can we like?" I said, "Oh, anytime you want to come through the studio, like I wouldn't mind the practice."
Yeah, at SAE?
Yeah, at SAE, and saw Bitter a couple of times and said, "Oh, anytime," and a few people.
their
come
equipment
through.
there is crazy. Like,
It is, yeah. It's underutilized. And
Yes.
often
Audience,
people-
that audience desk is
Yeah.
just amazing. The things that it does. So
Yeah.
I did a lot for Bluntfield.
Yeah.
Like just a lot for Ash, so just joke stuff and
mixtapey stuff.
mixtapey stuff. Just just to sort of understand it all. But yeah, great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't regret it at all. I regret the price I paid, but I don't regret
How
it.
much was it a year when you did it?
I think it was 3. So I think it was up to 2 years, 2.5 years. I think it cost me about 40. All up. Yeah, so I did diploma.
it's a lot of
I did-
cash for a degree
I
that
did
most
diploma,
people will
yeah, but
never
I
make
did-
any money
I did
with.
diploma and bachelor.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't do the internship stuff because I'm not working for free. I might as well go back on the tools. Yeah. Back am now, but
Yeah.
And then that just sort of blew up to gigs and sort of like the production went on the wayside. I think.
Yeah. Well, you got to find where there's a niche in the market and capitalize on it.
I think you've done that very well
Very,
in
very
that
well.
regard.
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine, I wasn't around in the scene at the time, but the way the Perth scene has sort of evolved, it's very sort of like tight-knit group in a way. And like I could imagine you wouldn't have had to do like any advertising to find people, rappers that
Never
wanted to.
advertised ever, no.
Yeah, so it's all word of mouth and stuff, which is like really cool.
Because we're all mates. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. And
All have common interests.
yeah, for sure. I think it was also, a series of good timing things. The drafting obviously set me up financially to be able to do it, but also around the same time was when Daz had his studio.
Yep.
And his was kitted out pretty nicely. It was inside a house, but it was soundproofed and acoustically treated with porcelain. I don't know if you remember porcelain.
Yeah.
But what Daz's like business model is that he would book out a month like solid for someone's project. So let's say you wanted to work on the new Drop Bear project.
Yep.
He would book out 4 weeks, and you would go every day for 4 weeks, and
Wow.
it would be a lump sum payment, and sometimes it would be pretty big lump sum payment, and then that person may not see returns for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the album would be phenomenal.
Of course it
because
would be, it's Daz.
because of the consistency
Yeah,
of working
definitely.
every day.
Oh, yeah, as well, yeah.
yeah.
He's got a
And it's
definite
Daz,
ear.
yeah,
Yeah,
like-
it's
Yeah.
Daz, yeah.
So I was getting these work mainly because like outside of my mates, people would be like, "Man, I just want to do a song. I just want to do an EP. I just want to do something small."
Yep.
I'd be like, yeah, cool. You can book a couple of hours with me. And so it was working on the smaller things. And then like fast forward to when Daz started working at Shakedown. This is before Sam. The way that he worked was minimum 4-hour bookings and things like that. So he wanted it to be like worth his time, which I understand. But if it wasn't for that, and now if you look at the environment is just people releasing singles.
Yeah.
No
That's
one
the
does
way it is.
albums.
No,
you
not
know?
anymore, no.
So it's kind of ahead of the time in that regard.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just like the fucking bottom feeder, just taking whatever Daz.
Taking the
took.
scraps.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, but it worked well. Yeah, well, the EPs are gone. Like on a marketing sort of thing, I did learn at SAE was if you have only have a certain amount of followers or something like that, you shouldn't bring out an EP. It should just be singles, and especially with a lot of visuals, because we have talked about this before, where songs can come and go very quickly because there's a lot of them more than there used to be.
Yeah.
So
And if you drop about an album that just came out, and if you don't do, one thing I would always recommend for people is to do like at least some music videos to try and promote the album before it comes out. But one thing that can happen with an album is you post about the album and that's the one time people see you on their feed for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're taking 2 years to make another album.
Yeah.
So whereas if you're dropping singles and stuff, you're on their feed all the time. You're going to be fresh in the memory.
Singles are the way to go, I think, in this the ADD age.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more like the product. The main product has shifted. It used to be the product was the album and the byproduct
CD.
was the singles, but
yeah.
it's the opposite way around now.
way, yeah.
And the product isn't even the song. The product is the video.
There's a video.
Yeah.
So you can make a shit song and you can make it into a great song with a good video.
Yeah.
And you can take a great song and you can make it into a shit song with a shit video.
Yep.
It's more important than the visual. You know,
I
so
feel like
people
I've done that.
Sam, he's on the next level of like realizing that.
Yeah.
You know, and
His editing eye is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's other guys as well.
And he
that
puts
are
in so
decent.
much work to do it. To
He
be
does,
like
yeah.
between working at your studio and
Yeah.
doing the videos and stuff, that guy is non-stop.
I know. Yeah.
It's crazy.
He's just like
he's got so
moving
much
miles an
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so continue on with your story. We kind of cut you off a bit there. So you started bottom feeding off Daz.
Well, that was just sort of, you know, it was the reason why I like was successful. At
Able
the
to get,
time.
clients and
and
stuff.
then he ended up sort of, they were doing a lot of tours. Downside were doing a bit, I think. I can't remember what it was. Oh, maybe he was doing lots of regional stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that was paying so well because it was grant based. You can make so much money out of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, why do I do studio stuff anymore? And so I was getting bigger albums then, and also just the clients that I'd built up over the years were now at like I guess peak for releasing.
Yep.
So you know, guys were doing their third projects and stuff, and they were getting like decent amounts of success as you could. You know, being you know at the time a lot of these guys are like non-SBX guys.
Yes.
and doing well enough to get national shows and stuff like that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the thing is as well with the like obviously the service that you offer as opposed to doing these full album projects and stuff is what I think a lot of artists forget is that not everyone has the drive or the want to be famous off their stuff.
Yeah.
Some people just want to record a song because it's like a bucket list thing for them, or
Yeah, for sure.
or they've just never done it. They want to try it out, see how they go, and
Yeah.
if it's something where you have to book out for like say a month in advance or even a month block or like even a week or whatever, it's just not worth the time for them
Hell no.
or the money.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I guess it kind of adds like a middle ground for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still like working on the bigger projects. You know, like I think as time's gone on now, you know, I'm almost 40. I'm 40 this year.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Sam's 10 years younger than me. You know, so in terms of like relevancy, there was always going to be a shift. There was like Daz was the more relevant guy, and then I came through, and you know, it's a very natural thing.
Yep.
And I think like, I subconsciously took a little bit of time away from just constantly being publicly the guy. Like every single project was like recorded, mixed and mastered at Shakedown. Produced by Rob Shaker. And then after a while, you're like, you know, people would like that to be a feature. You know, people would use it as a selling point for their album. And then after a while, it's like, do you need to even say it? Don't bother saying it. And I
That
was
sort
like,
of happened a lot when I was first starting out, and like we were even guilty of it ourselves. And it was good that we were saying, hey, recorded and mixed and mastered with Rob Shaker and that, but it kind of, in a way, it started to lose its value.
yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
understand that.
'Cause
And I
it's-
was sick of it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's like I was sharing everyone's shit. You look at the feed, and it's just so. And I'm like my poor friends, you know. So like I think I subconsciously went, apart from those projects, those really big projects that I was working on that were really time consuming, and like, you know, the SBX guys and Cogs and Death Rattle for complete
Smog
around
and-
that time, and
Cracker albums and artists. Like
Yeah.
I heard Cogs up writes like that.
yeah, some songs.
Yeah, he's just he's a machine.
Yeah,
pumps
like,
it out.
you know, he writes from emotion when he's going through a tough time, and then it just flows out.
Flows
He
out.
doesn't, he doesn't have to think about writing. He's just fucking naturally. You know.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I was recording, that I was doing like bread and butter wise in the studio, a lot of them were singers. A lot of them were like a lot of the new clients. I was like, oh, Sam, Hamble. A lot of the guys that were like, I'm in my 30s. I work FIFO. I have a schedule that's 2 and 1. I want to book regularly whenever I'm home.
Yep.
I could just leave it as a recurring thing.
Yep.
These guys often have less expectation because they're older, they're more mature. They don't they do understand that there's not this overnight success
Yes,
thing.
that's
that kids
right.
have.
Yeah.
And sometimes the music they were making was great. Other times it wasn't so great, but they were doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
they were doing it for enjoyment.
and
So I
themselves,
found,
love of it.
I found that really enjoyable because
Yeah.
it was less pressure. It became more about like, let's just hang out and also let's just see you evolve as a person and an artist.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'd get a new kid come in and be like, yeah, let's just, see how
Have
we
a
go.
bit of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then still doing those bigger projects. But that became a period for me where I wasn't just constantly driving like, guys, share my shit. Just
Yeah.
And
it was
gigs as well. You put
unnecessary.
on gigs as well,
Yeah.
gigs and everything as well.
Yeah.
So
All those gigs had to come to an end because every
Yeah.
single one, like we've had massive conversations about this
Yeah.
in the studio.
Yeah.
They always get shut down and
Yeah.
and the finger's always pointed squarely at hip hop and at me.
Yeah.
This is your gig and there's some dude that smashed a fucking manager and that's your fault.
Yeah, and it is horrendous what some people do at
Yeah.
these gigs. And the thing is, I've seen the same sorts of things happen in metal gigs.
Yeah.
I've seen them happen in nightclubs for some drum and bass thing. I've
They
seen them
at
happen.
Christian gigs and shit.
I've seen them happen everywhere,
Amish
but
shit.
it's
Yeah.
always
they
it's
have
always
Amish
the
kids?
music's fault when it has something to do with hip hop.
Yeah.
And I get it, like some of the lyrics are a bit more aggressive and that, but then so's metal. People are talking about like cutting people's throats and stuff on their
Way
songs,
worse
you know.
stuff,
I must say, touch wood, I haven't had a drama at any one of my gigs.
I can't believe that as well,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's probably a generational thing.
I also think that depending on where you go, I think one thing that's kind of happened with Aussie hip hop as well is with the advent of drill,
yeah.
right? You've sort of separate, like hip hop's in Australia, I think has sort of separated into two groups.
Yeah, yeah.
And so some of the more aggressive, the guys that are going to cause trouble are probably more likely to attach themselves to that drill sort of scene.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What's your thoughts on drill?
Oh, I record heaps of it.
Yeah, I love the
it.
beats.
Yeah,
I love
I
the
love it.
beats.
Yeah.
I don't know why they need about 30 blokes with balaclavas on in the clips,
I
but
thought it was just COVID procedure.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
that's the only odd thing I sort of see about it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I love it. Yeah,
There's some kids that come
Yeah.
through the studio. There's a couple of kids that come through, not quite 18. And these guys are the next generation.
Yeah.
Like I see them
Yeah.
do it, and they just like do it really, really well.
Yeah.
and I like it. I listen to it in the gym, and
Yeah.
I like mixing it because you can be quite creative.
yeah.
That's
Offset
something
hi-hats
that's
and stuff.
yeah. Lots of stabbing and vocals.
Yeah.
when I knew we were going to have you on, I was the one thing I was thinking about is like I can just imagine the catalog of unreleased tracks that this guy's sitting on, and like I can just imagine like, do you ever get like, for example, if you hear a guy that you think's like really fucking dope, and you're like, this guy's going to be a thing, and then it doesn't really pan out, and then the opposite way around, you hear a guy that's like maybe you don't really like his stuff, and then he starts to like blow up. Is that weird for you, considering how you've heard it before anybody else?
Yeah, it is in both ways, and I've learned to not put all my eggs in one basket and put too much weight on how I think about things.
Yep.
But definitely guys that come through the studio that at one point in time I'm like, you know what, I like this kid. I don't think he's really going to go very far. I would never tell anyone that.
No.
Yeah.
And then turns out a few years down the track, something's happened and it's just clicked. And they've just like smashed it. And then they're going and doing shows around the place, and they're selling decent numbers of things. And that for me, it's like more of a proud moment rather than a surprise
definitely.
moment.
Yeah.
And other way around, there's guys that, are just fucking phenomenal rappers.
Yeah.
But nobody knows who they are. And we work in the studio doing some great stuff, and then just no one hears it. And that's quite soul destroying.
And
Part of
sometimes
the reason why I stopped doing a lot of hip hop.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, this is getting wasted,
Yeah, sometimes it can be like we were talking a little bit in the car. Like you've made like beats that you really liked for people, and then it just never gets released. And it's the same thing with like me personally. I'm sitting on a couple of collabs with people that I know they've put their work into to put the best verse they can, but I just don't have the money to get the right video made for it at the moment.
Yeah.
But I can just imagine how it feels to be sitting there going, I really want him to release that,
Yeah.
but I don't want to like waste it, you know, type
Of
thing.
course, I mean, I'm sure they would prefer that it was released properly rather than just like
thrown out there.
chucked out on SoundCloud or some shit.
Because the trouble is, that's what happens for a lot of artists. They sit on something for so long, and this is what we've learnt from in our previous stuff.
Yeah.
Like our original like music that we were getting out there is we'd sit on it for so long, go, we're going to do a dope video for this, and then too much time would pass, and then we go, fuck it, just get it out there.
Yeah.
And then nobody sees it, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, and then so we've kind of learnt from that, and people always harassing us about this like kind of long project that we've got going, and they're always like, "Oh, when are you going to release it? When are you going to release it?" I'm like, "It's fucking ready, man."
This is the thing, and I remember when you guys are coming in, because I remember going, "This is what we need to do. We're going to work out a release schedule."
Yep.
And I talked about it a few times. I was like, "So the singles that you plan on, don't drop them yet." Because you want to time it so that you drop one single, and then 6 weeks, say after, there's another single, and then 6 weeks after that, maybe that's when your pre-orders start for your physicals, and then 4 weeks after that, that's when it drops, and you have to time it like that.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing video and you drop it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, for whatever reason, finances, you didn't get back in the studio for 2 months.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then it just drops off.
You've lost your momentum.
Yeah,
You know?
and we had a little bit of momentum going pretty hard for a little while. But yeah, that was just young idiots
You
not
just
listening
did
to
a video and
people.
like, man, this is sick.
Yeah,
You're gonna blow up.
yeah.
You just drop it.
Yeah,
You did
and
a
you
few
get so
views.
excited, and then like we got heaps of views. Yeah, this is sick.
Yeah.
And then you get so ahead of yourself that you forget about all the back end stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to think about it like an alley-oop. You know, you guys are setting yourself up, and that fucking slam dunk is where you turn it into people's
Slam dunk.
followers, and you turn
Yeah.
it into money, and
Yeah.
hopefully into future shows and all of that shit.
And hopefully I can stop working a hard job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like-
I think the realistic expectation that artists should have, especially in Perth, is you're never going to make a living out of it. There's probably 2 people in the state that make a living out of just music.
Just
Yeah.
music, yeah.
And I'd say you should look towards being able to do it for the right reasons, do it for enjoyment,
Yep.
be able to cover your costs so you're not losing money,
Yep.
and be able to maybe only work just a little bit, not so it's soul destroying 5
Yeah.
days a week, but just to get by and to, you choose how
Do the least
comfortable
amount
you
of
live.
work for the most amount of money.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah.
the bloody dream.
That's
isn't it?
everyone's dream,
Yeah,
isn't
it?
everyone's
Yeah.
dream, yeah.
But yeah, the one thing that you've done that would probably be inspiring to a lot of like young musicians and stuff is that you've gone from working a job that you were hating and actually managed to make a career out of doing music, even though at times I can imagine working in the studio would suck and you'd be like, it's a job just like any other.
It is, yeah, but it's like,
But it's like,
A lot
it's,
more enjoyable to do.
yeah. And when you have the good moments, it'll massively outweigh any of that.
oh, definitely. Like I can think of a few times where I'm like, recording some kid, and I'm like, it's like recording a mixtape, and it was just like,
Yeah.
it wasn't very entertaining for anyone, and
Yeah.
I could just tell he's like, a lot of the time
They're
I'll try
nervous.
and give input, and they're just like, no, it's gonna be. I was like, okay, yeah, cool,
Yep.
all right. And then I think of like the jobs that I've done in my life leading up to that. I'm like, oh, no, that's cool. Let's just
Yeah,
let's
that's
get
it,
done,
yeah.
Yeah, well, you also like having worked at like Harvey Norman and stuff. If you're trying to sell someone a stereo and they go, no, I like this one, you don't go, no, you can't get that one. Yeah. Go for it, man.
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
it's your money, dude.
You can take the shit stereo. It's all good.
yeah, yeah,
No, you sort of, you suggest it in a way that, like, if you want my input, this is what I think. And if people are quick to shut you down, you're like, that's cool. Now I know how to, have an interaction with you.
yeah. And honestly, some of the best things that have ever happened in like any of my songs have come from input from either you or Sam.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and it's because it's sometimes you don't quite hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you're so, like, when you're writing it,
Tune.
you invested in the way that you thought it was going to sound.
Yeah.
And then when somebody goes, oh, what if you did it like this? So if you close yourself off to that, you might be missing something that could be really big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
definitely.
I think that's early on, I was a little bit more hesitant to take people's advice.
Yeah.
But especially like as a musician getting advice coming from mates that are all like, you just need to make something go viral, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get him to press the viral button.
Yeah. So like, but there's certain people I definitely will take advice from, especially having grown up a bit and seeing how the world really works when it comes to music and stuff, seeing a bit more of the scene. You, Sam, there's certain people that just might know more than you or just might have an idea that you haven't seen yet.
The way that I look at it is you just need to remain open-minded in anything that you can.
Yep.
So I will have guys come to the studio first or second session and they'll be like, yeah, so what I want to do is this. And in my mind, I'm like, there is no way that this is going to work.
Yeah.
Because it goes against music theory or it goes against common sense. And so I'm like, yeah, cool, all right. My suggestion is this, but I also know that people don't learn from other people telling them.
Yep.
People learn from going through it, right?
Making mistakes.
So I go, look, let's just go. In my mind, I'm like, let's go down this path and then we'll get to the end of it and they'll realise why their suggestion didn't work and maybe mine will.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then every so often, their suggestion works. And I'm like, well, there you go. I've learned something.
Yeah.
And then you start telling everybody.
And then I'm like, everyone else's song's got that idea.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
But I mean, you remain open-minded because the absolute worst thing that can happen is you learn something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like we've met plenty of times, like with you or Sam, we've tried things in the studio that like haven't ended up working out. But I'm more than happy to spend that time to try it and just see how it goes.
And
And
go
you
down
can't.
a rabbit hole, I'll often go, look, this might be time-consuming and it might be a rabbit hole. So do you want to go down it or do you want to just try something, you know?
Yeah, and then usually the best course of action is just to get the song recorded and then start playing.
Think about it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that, especially in Perth, there is a lot more, I'd say, artists that are coming through, obviously that are independent, so no management, no distribution, everything like that. Do you think that there is a lot of more artists in WA compared to other states?
Oh, compared to other states. You mean like per capita?
Not so per capita. I'd say because we are a smaller population as such.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of rappers.
Yeah.
In Perth. Obviously, I hear a lot of other rappers from other states. But like obviously with a lot of people coming through the studio, obviously to make a full-time job out of, that's a lot of independent artists that are putting it out there.
Yeah.
And that's vocalists and stuff like that. Like Arcana, you recorded Arcana before. Arcadia, sorry.
Bullshit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so do you more enjoy, and the second question is, do you more enjoy that sort of vocal aspect of recording being different to the hip-hop sort of stuff, or?
Yeah, okay, so your first question, like, I think about the reasons why, and yes, I do think there are more rappers in WA than there are in other states, because we do have a small population. You think that we would have less of a scene than somewhere like Queensland or South Australia, but if you look at it, and I think back to the days that I was touring, and we would go around to a lot of scenes, and you open your eyes up to artists that you've never heard of, and some of them are dope. But one thing that I always remember thinking is doesn't seem like there's a big sort of more underground independent scene in these states.
Culture.
And I was thinking about why that is. And if you look at the bigger crews from each of those states, like I always think back then, you had the Hoods and the GE guys in South Australia. You had a whole bunch of little scenes, like sort of little crews in Melbourne, but they were all together a lot bigger than most other states. And then in New South Wales, around then, you kind of had a changing of the guard from your old Earth Boy kind of crowd to the more modern Spit Syndicate and Fundamental stuff.
Yep.
And then in Queensland, you had 750 Rebels, which were like pretty much the stronghold of Queensland. And I feel like in WA, we were blessed with syllabolics and this very open-minded attitude. They weren't gatekeepers of knowledge.
They wanted everybody to be a part of it.
Succeed. And so any show that, say, Opto would be a part of, it'd go, come on, open mic, everyone get on stage.
Yeah, get on stage,
He might not know a rapper, be like, yeah, go on, jump, do a song.
Yeah, that's it.
Back in the Hyde Park days and the Rosemount Thursday night and Tuesday night days, we all just got up and had a shot, and if it wasn't for those days, I wouldn't be here now. And that's because of Opto, Daz. I could call them anytime, wouldn't even know me for a bar of soap, and I'd be like, I've got a question to ask, and they'd be like, yeah, cool, man, do this, do that.
I would love to at some point have each one of those guys on the podcast because you could yarn about all the stories and stuff from back in the day. Like, I reckon Opto would be great, especially talking about like all the stuff he does with with like prisons and like the helping with rehabilitation through music. Like, I reckon that'd be a really cool conversation to
Daz
have.
would be great too, like with his knowledge, and he does a lot of community work too. So.
Yeah, and him and Daz, just like he was going to do with you, can nerd out on some equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the vocal, apart from hip hop, what other sort of like production do you like? What is do you like doing vocal recordings? Or
Mainly vocal stuff.
Yeah.
I don't do drums, and people come to the studio and go, "I got a band. Can you record a band?" I'll be honest with you, just like if you
need a whole desk. You've got so many mics.
And guys study 30 years to do drums, and it's not in my best interest to start. But vocalists definitely, and I think so. Going back to like a couple of years ago, where I sort of started doing less hip hop, which it wasn't a conscious thing, but as a result of like, I had a few really big projects where I felt like slightly hard done by financially.
Yep.
And then I also had, a bunch of other things that I put a lot of work in, and I just didn't feel like it did very well.
Yep.
So, and that's because it's hip hop. When it's the genre you love, and you put all of this into it, and then you watch it leave your studio, and then it just fucking
fades into obscurity.
Whereas like R&B, soul, pop, these guys can come in, and I still enjoy the process of making the music and recording the vocals, and I know all the techniques to make it sound good. And a lot of these singers were coming to me because they wanted a more distinct hip hop edge with their stuff.
Yep.
So I can enjoy the process, and then once it leaves my studio, I just don't give a fuck.
Because you don't follow the scene or nothing.
Yeah.
And then turns out, they become friends, and it's
just a bit of fun.
I'm glad that I do that now. It's like more sustainable as well.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. So as far as like, have you ever had a situation where you've had to like, just because I just ask because I'm interested and I've heard you tell wild stories and stuff. Have you ever had a situation, because the Aussie hip hop scene can be a little bit rowdy at times. Yeah. Have you ever had a situation where you've had to like just boot someone out of the studio? Like it's enough.
I've had to do a few times.
Yeah. What's the wildest story?
Intoxication,
and you don't say names because we don't want any beef.
So this guy dropped there, right?
Yeah. He came in one time.
He's off his head.
Yeah. Sounds about right, to be honest.
With him, and there was like...
Edit that out, Byron.
There's a few instances. I get a lot of people coming to the studio that either have addiction problems or, they're trying to rehabilitate. Music is often a way that they can,
help themselves.
Facilitate them, And so... I'm a bit of like having that as background myself, overcoming those addictions.
Yep.
Well, not completely. I mean, but I'm always the first person that will try and help people.
Yeah.
And so I can tell if someone's cooked a mile away.
Yeah. Yeah. And music is important to people in that way, in that regard.
Well, I mean, it's literally what helped me get out of my own shit.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to me and they're like, "Man, I want to make some tunes because I'm trying to get out of this shit," and I'm like, "Let's do it, man. Let's do it." But it's a pretty strict policy if you don't come to cook.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's business time when we're in the studio.
Yeah.
And a few times people have taken the piss.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah.
There was one guy that came in, and him and his mate came in. It was like 9 a.m. was the session time.
Yeah.
And they've got this like bottle of Sprite that was just
purple,
pure like white liquor. I don't even know what it was, and they're just sculling it.
Oh no!
And you can tell they haven't slept.
2 sleeps till Christmas, Mum.
Yeah. And the guy's like recording some ridiculous like quadruple time verse, 170 BPM or some shit, ridiculous.
Slurring his words. And
he keeps fucking it up. He can't get it. He's like, "I don't know what's going on. I could fucking do this at home." And I was like, "All right, let's go again. And he kept fucking it up. And then he started like kicking shit in the booth. There was a stool, he kicks it over. And I was like, "Bro.
Yeah, relax."
Yeah.
The reason
relax,
you can't do
mate,
it is because you got no fucking moisture in your mouth.
Yeah.
You've been up for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need to just get out of the booth, go home, sleep,
Yeah.
book another session and come back.
Do it another day. Yeah.
So him and his mate, I booted out, and eventually they did come back and finish that song, but had to re-record everything again. So I mean, the lesson for them was that they just wasted a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's other guys that I've had in the studio and had brought friends, and I have a pretty strict policy now. If you're going to bring anyone that's not involved in the session,
Yep.
you got to let me know.
Yeah.
And no ridiculous crowds and no people just rocking up with a carton on their shoulder.
Yeah, sometimes people just want to like show off to their friends that they're
Oh
in the
yeah,
studio.
I've rocked up
Because-
late on a Saturday night with one of Sam's sessions, and there's some dude's invited like 20 of his mates. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? This isn't an open house.
Nah,
club, you know?
nah,
Yeah.
fuck.
So I was like, you're going to get out. And
Yeah.
like this one particular guy brought some people in, and they were outside for ages, and I was like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. So I just excused myself, walked around the corner, and I catch them on the step, and they're fucking
Oh,
shooting
you're
up.
joking.
Yeah. So that was
Nah.
an instant catch
And that's
later.
fucked.
Yeah.
Especially like fucking at your house as well. Like, you know.
Bit of
Yeah,
respect.
you know, my kid. I mean, they don't. My kids and my wife weren't there, but
Yeah.
Still,
they do live
doesn't
there.
But
you know?
if they were there, that's fucking not good. You
Yeah,
know?
that's-
And also, it's not good to do that at someone's house anyway. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
junkies when they need.
they don't give a
Yeah.
fuck. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of other ones that I could tell you.
Yeah.
But it's all drug related. I've never had an incident where I've had to kick someone out because of a
the fella sleep.
disagreement or anything like
No.
that. No, people fall asleep all the time in there.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, cool. I can just work in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just doing your mix, mate.
Yeah. Sev, they always just fall asleep on my couch whilst I'm working on their shit. Most
Bit of a-
peaceful sessions ever.
Bit of a production question.
Yeah.
How do you think now where with hardware versus software,
Yeah.
with VSTs and a lot of like waves and a lot of the waves specials that come up and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff? How do you compare using hardware with software?
Well, you're never going to really be able to perfectly emulate what hardware can do. There's
Yeah,
just too many
that's right,
variables. Like we know that anyone with any kind of knowledge of
Yeah,
electric stuff knows that.
Yeah.
But I value working quickly, mainly because if I have an idea, I don't want to spend half an hour recalling the settings of something.
Yep.
I just want to get the idea out.
Yep.
So I will almost always choose an option to work quicker
Yep.
than better.
Do you think the hardware is becoming more of a purist thing, more of an audiophile thing?
For many years, it has been
Yeah.
a reason to get, a way to get people in the studio.
Yeah,
You have your
yeah.
website, and you're like, yeah, I got a Fairchild 670, and I got a Pultec EQP 1A, and
that's
people
it,
are like,
yeah.
man, this guy's dropped $500,000 on.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
How many times do you plug it in?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
And how many times does someone who comes to your studio go, hey, can we just run this through the 670?
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't
well,
care,
they don't
'cause they
care,
still
no.
trust you,
They
you're
still
just
trust
gonna-
you. Yeah.
yeah.
Also, as far as like a value for money for your clients, right? If you can get something done quicker and they can manage to get more of their project done in a shorter amount of time, and it still to their ear sounds pretty much the same,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, a lot of those things, it's such minute differences that almost nobody's going to notice. I listen to some tracks on the radio now, and I sit there and go, "What is this?" Like
Yeah.
they haven't even like mixed it
Yeah,
properly.
some of it just sounds like
Yeah,
that.
and it's
But
but
the reason I asked because it was the software side of things and VSTs and that never used to be an option.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm sort of like, some of that gear's worth a lot of money,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
uh,
I think client comes to your studio, they are trusting your opinion, they're trusting your knowledge in music theory, in technical theory, but most importantly, they're trusting your judgment in value for money,
Yep.
even though they won't say it.
Yep.
yeah,
They know that you probably have the ability to make this 100%
Yep.
to how it could sound. But maybe getting it to 98% will only take 2 hours, and getting it to 100% will take 4 hours. So you have to almost make that decision for them. And as long as you give them the options, as long as you say, look, what we can do here is I can retrack all this and I can do that and I can do that, but it's going to take me an extra few hours. If you like the sound of it at the moment, let's just proceed and keep working on it. And almost 100% of the time, they're going to go, I think it sounds great.
Yeah, sounds great.
So
Yeah.
you know what it could sound like, but
Yeah.
just get the job done. And when they leave, and almost all the time when they leave and it sounds better than they could imagined,
Yep.
they still don't know that there's an extra few
Extra
percent that
few.
you can
Yeah.
get.
That's
oh, that
yeah.
feeling leaving the studio with a new track and it's come out way doper than you thought it was,
Yeah.
and like you play it, like you got to do the car test and you just crank it on the way home and you just get so excited, and it's just the vibe that you get is it's just so awesome, man. And I got that the first time I went to your studio and we came out with Take It, which was the first ever bipolar track before
right.
bipolar was even a thing. It was just like, wow, this is actually like, because before that I was like literally I had a condenser mic
Yeah.
that I bought, but I didn't have enough money to buy a stand. So I was sitting it in a cup on my desk and like rapping into that. I had no idea about anything to do with mixing. I had no idea about like plugins and compression and anything like that. So I was just like playing around with that, and I was like, I'm actually like, it sounds okay. No, it wasn't like even like that. I was just like, it sounds okay. And then me and Byron were getting together. We started rapping, and we started thinking of the idea for Take It, and we're rapping it and that. And then we started trying to record it at my house, and like half an hour into recording, I was just like, nah, this isn't going to do it.
Yeah.
This isn't going to cut it. We need to go get it recorded properly.
You guys just lived up the road, like the end of my street. Was it before
that was after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they literally rented a place because of its locality to my studio.
100%.
My street.
Yeah, so we could just walk to the studio.
Yeah, no, it was
get
sick.
baked as fuck and walk up to Shakedown.
It was so good.
We get all the time, man.
Yeah,
mate.
Fuck yeah, it is so good. One of my favorite things to do is go to the studio.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly wish I could write like 100 times more stuff so I could just be there all the time. But yeah, so that excitement that you get from getting like the brand new track, that's ultimately what you're delivering to a lot of people.
Of course,
because you know, you're saying about the difference between like if you spent 4 hours on something that at the end of the day, pretty much all of the people that you're recording aren't Grammy award winning artists.
Well, yeah, and
no, they're not.
But they are ARIA award winning, aren't they?
There are,
Yeah.
and those that are, we normally have a different arrangement with payment. So
it might be like
amount of time.
So would you do like a royalties deal with them or something like that?
I used to do it a lot more, but you know, as I say, a few years ago, I got a bit disheartened because, you know, it's very difficult as the producer to have any sort of power with labels.
Yep.
Because ultimately, there's a person in between you and a label. And they whatever they say goes. So you just have to accept it. So if you don't have contracts, like I never did. I think now I'd generally prefer to just get paid up front, or if we do a split, like Grievous and I are doing a project at the moment.
Ooh.
And
haven't heard anything from Grievous for a while.
I can control it through my website, you know, the splits.
Yep.
But if it goes to a label, then just pay me out, basically.
Yep.
But having said that, I would still rather do, even whatever the payout is, I'd still rather spend unlimited time, because even though I don't hang my hat on those accomplishments, this award, that award, top 10 in this and top number 1 on that.
Which they are, by the way, great achievements.
Yeah, but it's what you're doing is setting a benchmark of what things could sound like.
Yeah.
And you're forcing people to try and do better, and forcing myself to try and do better, and that's the most important thing, not so much that you have an achievement or you're a part of achievement.
And if you even look at Australian hip-hop as a whole, thanks to guys like you, and I'm forgetting the names of them, but plenty of other guys like over East and that, as an average, the production quality of everything is getting better.
Yeah.
And it's like, because back when I first started to get into Aussie hip-hop, a lot of the tracks, like you'd get the guys like Hilltop Hoods and all that was like professionally produced and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the tracks were like as gutter as they get. You know what I mean? Like someone recorded in his backyard, made up a little booth and doesn't really know what he's doing, but it was still cool, right?
Yeah. Well, my favourite Australian hip-hop album of all time is Dundee L. Yeah. And that is just fucking ghetto as fuck.
Yeah.
Like you hear people in the background shouting shit. And
wasn't... I might be completely...
Was that Beast Days? Was that going back to Obese and all that sort of thing?
It was Beast Days,
that was Hunter, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember hearing ages ago that wasn't that actually like one of Draft's first tracks?
I think the first song he was ever recorded on and released was on Dundee L.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then to see how much he shined from there is crazy. Yeah.
And Layla, I think, might have been.
Yeah.
Well. Maybe she was on the Downside track before then.
Yeah.
But, you know, all the Clandestine guys and all that, everyone got their big, like, Syllabolics as a whole really was like a force to be reckoned with.
100%.
Because, like, you had other crews in other states, but there was this, like, whole album of dope beats and just fucking fire.
Yeah.
Pieces, you know.
Like spitting fire, literally,
And people were like, fuck, you know.
Even
like,
Syllabus,
these guys got our numbers, you know.
It's like a five song cipher, man. It's just just dope.
Yeah. I think that posse cut sort of steez is what we were trying to bring back with that.
Yeah, it was dope.
Speaking of posse cut, you have a world record.
I do. It's unofficial.
Unofficial.
I fucking claim that shit.
You claim it, 100%.
Show me a song with more verses. And
Guinness,
Yeah.
Did Guinness come out or anything?
So
yeah, I tried to.
he tried to get it official, but just so for people who don't know, Shaker a couple years back. It was for your last. It was for your last project, right?
Yeah.
The rap.
2019.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was called
40
Large.
Large.
59 MCs.
Yeah.
Mum's cunts blocked up and covered by thighs. If I did wanna fuck her, I'd be going in blind. Xbox achievement, 6 foot wide. Last time she had a pap smear, 6 men died.
Because I'm poor and can't afford the beat, I rob shakers or shake Rob. There'll be falling keys if the lock changes. You bring the paper, I bring the bars like a builder jail. I'm always back and forth, I'm more black and white than a killer whale.
So he just basically got fucking just about every rapper in Perth to come spit a verse
Not
for this
every, there
massive.
was a few that were a bit cut.
Just like see you later. I was fortunate enough to be a part of it, so was Byron. Crazy. It's just so many rappers. It just shows how big the Perth scene is. Like if you actually go to a Perth hip hop show, what's fucking wild about it is 90% of the time, half the crowd are rappers.
Oh,
always.
Yeah, like so you could literally like any hip hop show you do, if you decide, hey, let's go back to my house and drink, get people to come with you, guarantee there'll be a cipher at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I used to skulkers till 3-4 in the morning back in the day.
Yeah.
Man. It was,
Good.
Yeah.
Those are the things you remember about it, man.
The
That's
most
the
enjoyable
really
sort of
organic
stuff.
part of the scene.
Yeah.
But you say that, but almost every state's the same.
Yeah.
So you go to some shows in Queensland
Queensland.
and or wherever, and there's not many people there, but they're still all rappers.
Yeah. I guess it's just it's the personal touch to me is the Perth scene. I got a lot of love in my heart for the Perth scene, you know, and a lot of fun memories. Like I remember when we first started recording with you, like probably like a month after we started recording with you, we actually ended up doing a bipolar show, which you. When Scotty hit you up for rappers, you thankfully put us through. And we did the bipolar show. Sorry, not bipolar show, Downside show.
Yes.
So we supported Downside, which was a fucking incredible experience because by the time we got on stage, it was at Jimmy's Den, which is not the biggest of venues, but by the time we got on stage, because the Downside hadn't done a show in a long time at that point.
Their single return,
Yeah.
wasn't it, for, the single with Porcelain.
Yeah, with Porcelain. What was the song called?
La 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 la. Everybody say.
Yeah.
No.
I can't remember.
We also went and were in the music video for it as well.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
yeah, so
Shit.
so we did the Downside show, which was crazy. Like it was just a great experience, and then seeing Downside, because I'd never seen Downside live before.
Yeah.
And like I'd been listening to him since like I was a kid, you know what I mean? So it was crazy, and then I think probably a month later they went and did a show in Margs.
I remember you guys were in the front row.
Yeah, we were just like, fuck it, let's just drive down to Margs and go see Downside. And it was a great time. And then
It was like a whole bunch of Perth rappers that just came down and were in the front row.
Yeah.
So he's
So
like,
mad.
everyone come down,
Yeah.
road trip. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Fucking
Yeah, and it was great, and then they're memories that I'll never forget. You know what I mean? And that's what's cool about the Perth scene is the inclusivity, the acceptance, and that everyone
definitely.
kind of generally gets along.
Generally, yeah.
If you find that, like what we were talking before about, like venues not liking when somebody kicks off or anything like that, what I've found is when that happens at a venue, 99.9% of the time, that's not somebody who's regularly at gigs.
It's normally not a rapper, and it's normally not a rapper's close mate.
No.
Yeah, it's just somebody who
Just
came
some
with them.
punter, yeah.
Yeah.
The last show I promoted, apart from there was like an all-female show I did recently.
Yes, I remember that. I was there that night. Yeah.
The one before that was 2017, which was Cog's, I think it was Antisocial launch at the Rosemount.
Yep.
And that was the one where Kev Folks got
got
kinked.
punched.
Oh, that's fucked.
Yeah. And so, I knew about it on the night, but the next day it was all over the news. And that guy, was the guy that just got out of jail literally that week, and off his head, and thought something was happening when it wasn't. And
Yeah.
was King Yew guy, and so Rosemount, they called me and they're like, yeah, you're done again, promoting for however long. And they would always call, I'd always get a call just going, we're trying to get some crowds through. Can you got, put a hip hop show on? I'm like, I can, but you're going to put on the right amount of security?
Yeah, that's exactly
you
right.
You want to take, 150 grand over the bar. Let's put enough
security. Why is it the promoter's responsibility to also be security?
Well, no, it's not. But
that's the thing.
It's a juggling act, man. Like,
it can feel like that sometimes.
It depends on the relationship you have.
Like I've had security guards come up to me and say, "You need to get rid of this guy," and I'm like, "You're the fucking security guard, dude." Yeah.
It's not my license.
I'm organising the guys on stage. You deal with that shit.
I've done that before. I've gone and tried to go into a bathroom and pull a certain guy out who was causing a ruckus, and he punched me in the face.
Shit.
And all the security guards were waiting outside because apparently they can't go into the toilet and do it. And I'm like, well, I'm doing your job and I got a fucking clock.
Well, I had
I'm about to get on stage. Now look at me,
Yeah.
We had it with DMU. We didn't have any. We tried to get security once or twice. And because we had our own venue in Barrack Street last year for about 3 months as a trial, and we're doing open mic hip hop nights and stuff,
which was really cool.
Yeah.
Never really had any dramas though.
Yeah,
which was cool.
Yeah, it was the old Toastface Griller downstairs.
Yeah.
And we never really had any dramas. Oh, we did a couple of times, but
it was,
nothing major. But it also depends, Like depends on. I couldn't really even say it depends on the artist. It depends on the actual venue. Depends on the night. You can't really predict those things.
Certain venues, you're going to get stragglers that will just walk into any event because it's an event that's open and selling piss. And so you're going to get people that aren't even there to see the artist. They're just there to punch on with people.
Yeah, I reckon perfect example would be Mojo's. Mojo's doesn't have security or traditionally never did.
Never does.
And let's say you walk into a venue like Rosemount or any others back in the day, and there's 2 security guards and they're looking over you and they're looking at you and they're like, you fucking
yeah.
You walk in and you've got this sense of like, I don't feel welcome here. You walk into Mojo's, the bar staff like, "Hey, you going? What can I get?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So the likelihood of something popping up in that environment, popping off.
Yeah, some places.
I think that's what
DMU
DMU was like. I think that was what DMU was like. Like my younger brother came to. Like, I think it was the first show he'd ever been to at DMU of mine.
This is during COVID. I had this place open during COVID, and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do?
It's just after COVID. Don't get yourself in too much trouble.
No, it was in COVID, yeah. So I had to check fucking vaccination shit.
Yeah. So I think my brother came to, I think it was the first show he's ever been to of mine, and he came up to me afterwards, or at least somewhere through it, and he was like, I can't believe the vibe here. He was just like, I wasn't expecting this from an Aussie hip hop show. Like, I wasn't expecting he was probably expecting it to be way more ratty and way more, but everyone was just having fun and having a laugh and all that kind of stuff. So he was just like really excited about it. And hopefully that's all we see from hip hop gigs from now on.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, like the Rosemount, which is probably the longest, like the most successful with all of the hip hop shows over the years. The main reason why there were so many issues is because we were forced a lot of the time to do shows on Fridays.
Yep.
And what would happen is you'd have this North Perth crowd of people working in their business suits, and they'd go and have a few beers, and those beers would turn into a few extra beers. And then you'd have this crowd of hip-hop guys rocking up, and they look a bit ratty and they look young, and it's generally a crowd that doesn't take shit from people.
No, of course not.
And you always get a few guys with their suits on, feeling like they're important, trying to have a game of pool, but some kid keeps bumping into them and shit pops off, and then some guy in a suit gets smashed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the finger gets pointed.
Yeah.
And there's no hip-hop again. But is that really is that the reason why it happened, or is it maybe it should be on a Saturday night when there's not a work crowd? And
that's right.
And there's a bunch of other reasons. I'm not pointing fingers at the Rosemount, but definitely inadequate security was the main thing, and they didn't want to pay more security.
They usually have one or two security guards, and there's hundreds of people there.
Yeah. Do you remember the Mum Spaghetti song competition?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And I had... They wouldn't give me the big room.
That was back before they did the renovations and stuff.
Yeah.
So the big room had a Christian band on that was empty.
Yeah.
And I had a capacity of whatever it was.
And it was
in there,
packed.
It
was like you could literally...
459. There was like 600 people that wanted
smell
to
of sweat was
come
incredible.
into the show. And there was a line going all the way out into the beer garden out the front door.
Shit.
And there was one bouncer that was assigned to us. And the bouncer was at the front door just going... You can't come in because it's full. And people were like, but I have to fucking... So we were on stage just going, guys, I know, thank you for coming, but if you've watched your friend, can you please leave so other people can come in? And then eventually that security guard was gone. So I was at the front door, and people were going, "This is fucking bullshit. I paid money. I can't come in." And I'm like, "What has happened here?"
Far
Yeah.
out.
You know, like.
It's just
And
yeah.
then there's this Christian band.
And then when those
no one
In the big room, they
and
never
when
let
those people get turned away as well, that's when, because they've been pre-drinking all afternoon, and then someone gets pissed off at their mate, goes, "You brought me to this
You brought
fucking
me
thing,"
there,
and then shit goes
all of
south.
that, the finger gets pointed again. Who's it get pointed at? The
And
promoter.
I had
Well, it should be onto the event manager because we haven't fucking mate. The event managers and stuff of some of these places, mate, are just.
I need to do a diss track,
They want to do a diss track on event managers because they just
like draft
respond.
drafts the soundmen. Yeah,
it's
do
sort of
something like that, like
yeah.
venue managers and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had a gig at the Rosemount, and I don't want to talk shit about the Rosemount. The Rosemount is fucking great venue, great venue, and they're really good. But
Different times as well. I'd like
Yes,
to add.
yeah,
The
different,
management
yeah.
and everything have changed over the years.
Yeah.
and
100%,
any like poor management or mismanagement wasn't
Yeah.
as a result of the Rosemount today.
I love the Rosemount. It's a great place to perform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that happened the last time though, we did a gig there, and we were doing a show for somebody else, and a couple of my mates, and I think it was a Friday, and I think it's exactly what you're talking about. A couple of my mates were at the bar, right, and there's some bloke that was completely unrelated to our group or whatever. And then my mates that aren't even really into the hip hop scene, but like they were at the bar, and then I think somebody said something to my missus that was just like, you know, out of character, you know, like not out of left field, like you shouldn't, you know.
Yeah.
And then one of my mates said something to him and was just like, you know, and then it starts getting a bit hairy. They're like up in each other's faces and all that stuff, and it's just pissed cunts that don't know what they're doing. You know, and it can just get crazy real fucking quick, especially with like a hip hop crowd and like, you know, mates of mates and mates of mates of mates, and they're all fired up and enjoying a crazy show, and it can just fucking explode just because some guy said something stupid, you know.
So Rob, you're another chili aficionado.
I am a hot sauce aficionado.
A hot sauce
It's on
aficionado.
it's on
Show
my
'em the holster.
handle, yeah.
So Rob gave me this after I think we got in contact after I did my Baby Roy's hot sauce challenge, hot burger, Victor Bitter hot Carolina Reaper burger challenge.
That's right.
And so we've got
had a good effort at that.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was
Penny Burr came in and just
2
fucking-
minutes 35. So a lot of people went down. So what happened was that we went down to, this was afterwards I'd done that challenge. I met the guys from Baby Roy's with Vic at, I think it's called El Taquera or something in Fremantle. It's got
El Pastor.
El Pastor, sorry. And he brought out some, he thought it'd be funny to bring out some Carolina Reaper tacos. Tacos. Yeah. So myself, Skulker, and Victor Bitter were there, and he brought this out. He goes, "I brought these out for your friends," you know what I mean? And me and Skulker just boom, 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 ate them down and said, "Oh, can we get another serve?" And the guy calls Vic down. He goes, "Mate, is your mate crazy?" He goes, "What, three?"
Was it
out of his
Crookie
mind.
or Al?
I can't remember to tell the truth. And he's just gone, we just like put like 2 Carolina Reapers in those 6 tacos, and they want some more. And so we got some more. But yeah, so you were telling me that you got the I love it. I really do.
Yeah.
But you saying that you're getting like a mailing list of hot sauces come through the mail, and
I was at the time. I've since stopped. But at the time that I got these holsters made, was when I was like really into trying all the latest and greatest. And
Was that during the beast mode?
yeah, so we actually had a song called Hot Sauce.
yes, with Victor, with Bit of Belief. Yeah, I smashed that sauce, so I got it with the we tried it. Yeah, pre-ordered it. Yeah.
I wish I could still get it. But Al from Royale's and Baby Roy's and El Pastor made that.
Yeah.
But I got these made. I googled it, and I found a place that they make gun holsters.
Yeah, that's right.
Texas.
It's from
Right.
Texas. Yeah.
And I asked them would they make hot sauce holsters, and they're like, yeah, cool. And because they did custom prints, and most people had prints of like random shit. And I had my dog smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
But sure enough, after months, and it cost a fortune.
Yeah.
They sent them to me, and then I'm like, what the fuck am I going to
do with this? Yeah.
So I just over the years, my mates and people that are big hot sauce.
Yeah,
fans
hot
like
sauce
Lee.
fans,
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, you got a hot sauce
appreciate it,
holster,
man.
mate.
But you,
Yeah.
have you walked into a place with that on your
Yeah,
belt?
I have. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You have
three
to.
times.
Oh,
Three
man.
times I have.
You
Yeah.
have to. Well,
I
if
do it
you're gonna
jeans.
be filming content on eating hot sauce,
No,
you
but,
gotta use the holster.
yeah,
Like,
hot on the scene. Number 3, I did with Skulker. We went to the the chili festival.
Yeah.
And I had that hanging off the side.
yeah.
But I had
What
the.
is
That is the original 13 Scorpions that you gave me.
Yeah.
Because I did have that same hot sauce at home.
Oh, okay.
But I've just kept it in there just to keep its shape, and
You got the hat.
I drank some tequila once, and I thought, it's all right with the hat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our new.
That's the
part there.
mascot.
So,
That's gonna stay there now.
yeah, but after that, I got so many like requests and shit. Like someone sent me gummy bears and
Oh, to do food eating.
food eating stuff. I says, look, I'm willing to do it, but I'm not going to.
You got to send me free shit.
Do a hot one.
Yeah.
WA hip hop hot
Yeah,
ones.
that would be good actually.
We should maybe we could do that for the. We're thinking of doing a special episode for the end of the season.
Yeah, get
Do
some
something like that.
wings done.
Yeah, but you got to get dudes that don't really eat hot sauce that much.
Coerce.
It wouldn't be that interesting if it was just.
If you get me to do it, I don't really eat hot sauce that much. You get me to do it, and I'd be dying.
I've
you
seen
know?
coerce-
The thing is, I'm out of my mind. I'd be dying, and I'd still be eating this shit. Like,
hallucinating and shit.
yeah,
Those chicken tenders, like I cook them for my kids. You got the chicken tenders, and they got like the little bubbles on
Yeah,
them.
the sweet chili ones.
yeah. I would torment myself for a while.
Coerce will eat that, and he'll be red in the face, going like dead
What
set,
would
you
would
know?
be cool is if we could organize a way where we could get like everybody, like if we end a season, we get everybody who's been on the show to come back for 10 minutes and do their like hot sauce challenge.
Should
Yeah.
ask Bitter because he would do the hot.
Yeah,
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 100%.
No, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you got a hot sauce song, you got to
you go,
live up to
right?
it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Really, you and him should be killing it. Like,
yeah.
should be beating everybody.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll
You game?
do it. But the thing is, like for me, and I've always said this with hot sauces, my favourite chili is the habanero.
Yep.
Because of the flavour.
Yep.
And even though I do have a few hot sauces that have ghosts and a few of
There's
the-
no need
They just
to go
don't
that
taste
high.
good?
I've never been a Reaper guy.
Nah.
For
No.
me, it just tastes like eating a battery.
Yeah, I actually had. So the
I haven't
fir-
even tasted
the
this
first
shit,
time
to
I
be
actually
honest.
got into the sort of chili eating thing was my family's Italian, so we ate a lot of chilies when we were kids and stuff like that. So, but there was a guy called Rob Powdrill, and he was a kickboxer, and I was working next door to their gym one time, and they said to us, "Would you like to try this fucking chili? We'll pay you $100 if you eat this chili." This kickboxer, $100. This kickboxer's going to eat one as well. So it's basically like I don't know if it's still on YouTube. I'll see if I can get a link. And it's like tradesman versus kickboxer. So I'm sitting there and I've got like my big Italian continental roll with the fucking salami and everything in there. I've got my fucking Coke. I'm ready to eat lunch, you know. And I'm working next door to this gym doing like wiring up some stuff, and they give me this fucking thing and I ate it. I'm like, fuck, this is hot, you know what I mean? So I sat there and I copped it for a bit. I'm like, yeah. Oh mate, they made 3 videos after this guy to eat it, and he ended up like having to go to the hospital and shit because he was like drinking milk. And
Some people's bodies can't.
the
really
tolerance
handle that.
is like very hard. But like I just sat there and copped it, and I still ate my sandwich, so I ate my roll and everything like that. But and then I just like I want to see how far I can push myself. But
Yeah. All right. We're about the 1 hour mark. I need to take a piss, so how about we take a break for a sec?
all right, let's have a quick break, and we'll be back soon. Go.
Okay, so I've recently discovered that you're actually a superstar in Italy.
Yeah, back in my parents' home country, mate. Like
Yeah.
Well,
Forza Italia.
Yeah.
if we ever do a show, I'll get him backstage.
Yeah, of course.
You've got to hook up.
Yeah, I got to hook up, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that story because it is actually quite.
Yeah, so I was like, I got my DistroKid payment, and I was like, this is extraordinarily big for me. Like a WA hip hop producer, I don't normally make more than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So I looked on my streams, and then you can look at the songs that do well, and then you can look at the countries. And so I was like, it's Morn Slurpees. And although it's one of my favourite tracks on there, it definitely wasn't the biggest one on there. You know, you got Mercules on there.
Mercules,
You got,
yeah.
some other big names that people loved. And Large, the Posse Cart, that one had way more streams than any other.
Yep.
So I was like, that's really strange. And then, look at Italy, and Italy's doing almost double that of Australia and how many streams I'm getting.
Yep.
So I Google Rob Shaker, Morns, Slurpees, Italy. And it comes up with a whole bunch of Italian playlists. And it's on lots of playlists. I'm like, someone's played my song on radio, and for some reason people love it. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is like,
I can't even understand what
you're
they're saying.
My initial thoughts are, I'm going to be fucking touring Italy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll move there.
Maybe you're going to be touring around Europe. It's gonna branch out to the rest of Europe when they go.
I'm famous in Italy, mum.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, why Morns? He's one of the more very thick Australians.
Aussie as fuck.
Definitely.
So anyway, at this point, I click on a playlist, and each. This particular playlist, I think I was rated at number 5, in terms of how many plays it had received.
Yeah.
And if you click on it and it takes you to a YouTube link, it took me to this YouTube of a guy called Rove, and this song was called Shakerando. And when you hit translate to English, it's for some reason says Rob Shaker. Somehow there's been a monumental fuck up.
Roberto Shaker.
So people are searching that. And
Roberto Shaker.
That makes sense to me that it can be fucked up from a link.
Yeah.
But how am I getting paid for it? How am I making money?
Because they're clicking onto that link for that song.
Yeah, but that's taking them to YouTube, so they would actually have to search.
No, but also if it's getting messed up from the link and from what they're listening to and all that kind of stuff, they click on it, yours by accident. Maybe Spotify is playing your song next, thinking that that's what they like.
Could be. I don't know. But either way, someone would have had to listen through a certain amount before they stopped it. And I can imagine all these Italian blokes just go, what the fuck?
Ma che cazzo vuoi? Roberto, what are you doing, mate?
Okay.
Is it still happening? Is it still?
No, it's dropped off. Someone's just gone, hang on a second, we've made a huge fuck up. Fixed it,
This doesn't belong on any Italian playlist.
Yeah. It was a couple of months that I was doing pretty well off it. And
it was a good song, but it's you have to be an Australian hip hop fan
the
to like
video
that.
for it is us down at fucking North Beach on the beach drinking Victoria Bitter in our singlets.
Hey man, there's nothing more Italian than that. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, or for an Australian Italian, I'll give you that. Oh, that is fucking funny as fuck.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk about some hot sauces?
Yes, we're going to talk about some local West Australian hot sauces.
Just a shout
local
out.
cuisine.
Shout out some local cuisine.
Just for anyone that is watching and interested in getting into hot sauces and doesn't know where to look, my top 5 of WA hot sauces would be number 1, Bunsters, shit the bed.
Bunsters, shit the bed.
That for me, that's an everything.
On
hot
the
sauce.
eggs? On the eggs.
Well, you have any hot sauce on eggs,
On the
but
eggs,
for me, I can put it on anything, your pastas, your pizzas.
Chips.
I could literally just drink the shit.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Get your carrot sticks.
Number 2 would be Bluey Zarzovs. They're from
Bluey Zarzovs, that's what you told me before. I do need to write that
They're
down.
from Lancelin, and there's a particular one that they've got called Awesome Sauce. It's very mild, but it's fucking fire.
Yep.
You can just drink it and it goes on anything. And then I'd go number 3, Agent 80.
Yes.
And this dude is stocked in a few places, but I can't ever get a hold of it. So I just found his personal Instagram account because I went to the Agent 80 Instagram account. And he always comments underneath it going, these hot sauces are dope from his personal account.
So you just figured out that's the guy.
I was like, bro, can I get some hot sauce?
Yeah, of course. Agent 80, yeah.
Agent 80. And sometimes dude's mountaineering in the Himalayas and he doesn't reply, but then he gets back and he's like, yeah, bro, I'll send you some. And he just mails them to me.
That's dope.
But Agent 80 is dope.
Is that a hot sauce?
It's probably medium.
Yep.
I'd say
more vinegary or more a saucy sauce?
It's quite vinegary,
yeah.
but it's not strong. It's not a strong flavour. It's quite subtle, so you can douse it and it tastes
that's
great.
what you want. Yeah. That's what a proper hot sauce should be.
You
don't need to blow your mouth off every single fucking time. There's nothing about being tough.
It's flavour.
It's flavour. It's got to have a good flavour profile.
Absolutely.
It's good when it's got, you have different parts of fruitiness or vinegariness or something like that in it.
I just got to ask one question. Who hurt you guys?
Who hurt us, guys?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
Are you are you guys constantly in pain from like your?
Do you
rings
remember
burning
about?
So much?
Have you ever heard of a
You know
phone
what?
book?
I'd just say it would be to do with how you were brought up. You know,
Yeah.
Lucian's Italian.
Yep.
My mum's Asian,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
Chinese. I was brought up to eat hot shit, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like you had a choice.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I never really had a lot of hot shit in my household growing up, so I actually really love hot food, but I just
Yeah.
don't have such a high tolerance
So
for
I
it.
actually
That,
feel sorry for you.
yeah, what that I can't enjoy the super hot
You're
shit.
missing a whole.
Oh,
element
look,
of food.
it used to be like a challenge
everything-
with my cousins, you know, like who could eat the hot. Like my
Yeah.
grandfather used to sit there and eat a chili, like raw, and I'm just sitting there sweating as he's eating pasta, and I'm like,
Just about everything that I eat, I put chili in it.
Yeah, right.
But I just don't put heaps, and I've no interest in wanting to eat it like Carolina Reaper
Well,
or
we
something.
had when we were in Brisbane, when we went to that sick ass fucking burrito place. So you had chili in that.
yeah,
That was
So
a
yeah,
little spicy.
yeah. But I just don't have a high tolerance for it, and I like.
I'll tell you, if you're trying to ever lose weight,
Yeah.
the best diet you can do is just super bland shit. I don't care if it's fucking chicken
Rice,
and broccoli,
tuna,
but you
chili.
cover that shit in hot sauce.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that it does. First of all, it makes it tasty.
Yep.
Second of all, it
Makes
speeds
it
up,
go through you.
speeds up your metabolism.
Yep.
And thirdly, you'll shit it out in like no time.
Look, results speak for itself, man. You lost so
Yeah,
much
That's how I
fucking
lost
weight,
so much weight.
Yeah,
Hot sauce,
dude.
just drinking the shit.
and you're looking good too, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work's paid off, which
Oh,
is
just
great.
this-
Hard work of
Lifestyle.
eating hot sauce.
Lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Lifting the hot sauce as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so fourth one I would say Mojo's hot sauce. That's another WA one, and then fifth one Dingo's.
Dingo's.
They're from Freo. Actually,
from-
Mojo's from Freo too.
And they were on, Dingo was on Hot Ones.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's actually good that there's a few West Australian producers and hot
Pretty much
sauces.
all
Yeah,
WA stuff.
yeah, that's good. No, that's great.
Fuck yeah, support WA, 100%.
Yeah, especially
maybe
with
we'll
chili.
get a hot sauce sponsor at some point.
Yeah, well, maybe I own enough shares in Bunsters now.
If
May
any
as well,
if
you
any
know
of
what I mean?
those companies,
I love you. Thank you for being on our vlog on the Flytrap site. But yeah,
if any of you want to hit us up. Let's go.
mate, we'll eat that hot sauce. But no, really appreciate you coming in today, Rob. It's been an eye opener, and
Yeah,
for me and Jason, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
yeah. Cheers, man.
Was it pleasure?
Yeah.
Pleasure. So just before we go, have you got any upcoming projects you really want to plug at the moment?
The big one I'm working on at the moment is Grievous and I working on an EP
Yeah.
Awesome.
called Basic.
Yes.
Basic.
And we're a good chunk through it. I'd say probably a bit more than half the way through it. Waiting on some features. You know how these things
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
But we're catching up regularly. He's got a bit of an injury with his leg, so fortunately that kind of works for us being able to make a project. But it's
Yep.
great stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like
I
it's got
can't
me
wait.
really,
It's
really
keen.
enthused in the studio for hip hop.
Is that because he can't go back to work?
At the moment he can't.
Yeah.
But, even when he does go back, we'll still be when he can.
You'll still be hustling away.
Yeah, hustling away. Yeah.
Yeah. and
Yeah,
so-
it'd be interesting to see what Grievous comes out with after quite some time off the.
Yeah,
How
well,
did
I'll
it
tell you
So
what,
it'd be keen though.
Oh
eh,
man,
yeah.
the thing that's really good about it is Grievous is well known for making relatable songs.
Yeah, definitely.
The youth. There's a beat of mine on one of his albums called the Traffic Courtesy song, like How to Merge. Like everyone can relate to this shit.
Yeah.
And in the past, he's probably maybe shied away a little bit from talking about his real past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got quite an interesting past.
Yeah.
And in this album, because of the guy he is, and he's got a family now, and he may not do another project. I don't know.
Yeah.
He literally doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he just
And
wants to
that's-
just say it.
And that's
yeah.
just a beautiful thing, because now you're hearing shit that he's like,
I don't
he
care.
doesn't care.
Yeah, I don't care,
Yeah.
mate. Yeah,
and that's like when an artist is truly free. So
Fuck yeah. So also I know Cogs is working on a project.
Cogs is he's hit me up and he's about to start working on something, but when he does, I'm not sure. Like generally, what happens with Cogs is we do like ridiculously
long sessions.
We'll just do really intense few months of
Yep.
stuff and just smash it out.
Yeah.
And then we might not do anything for 6-9 months a year,
Yep.
and maybe do another chunk and then finish it. So
Yeah.
whenever he decides to do that, he still fucking has to paint my ceiling from, the last album he did.
Yeah.
Part of the payment for that was painting my ceiling, and he still hasn't fucking painted it.
Fuck.
So before we get in the booth, he's going to get his roller out and finish shit
Mate,
up.
there's nothing wrong with bartering, mate. There's nothing wrong with
Well,
bartering.
Jason knows that.
Yeah,
part
Jason,
of,
we'll speak
part,
about
part
it.
of what I like to do in the studio
mate.
is
Yeah.
I think he's
trade.
secretly Italian,
Yeah.
mate. Hey, what's
Yeah.
going on here, mate?
Anytime someone comes to the studio, I'm like, so what do you do, mate?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'll just write that
I
down.
can
You're a
use-
tiler.
Yeah,
I might need you
yeah,
at some
yeah.
stage.
Bathroom
Yeah.
needs done.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, plumber, whatever.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so are you working on any like just flat out producer projects like you did with what was your last one called again? Sorry.
Meat.
Fuck, what was
No.
my
The
album
Meat
called?
Shape mixtapes were
Meat
dope,
Shape.
but that
Oh,
was
yeah.
more like tracks that were already
my album.
yeah.
Foresight was what it was.
The one that had Mercules and Morns and who else have it? Bit of Belief.
Yeah, a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, it was dope.
Downside and
Foresight.
Yeah, Foresight was what
Yeah,
it was called.
everyone go check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely do. I think the last thing I worked on with that album was the Posse Cut,
Yeah.
and I spent probably like
Weeks.
weeks of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for people, and I'm messaging, and I'm like, "Fucking hurry up!"
It was lucky for us that we were fucking actually like
You were
down
right
the road.
in the middle of the time when I was recording everyone.
Yeah.
That last part of it was fucked.
Yeah, because I remember you hit us up and you were like, "Oh, do you want to come down and do the thing?"
yeah.
We were down the road.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
literally
yeah.
lived on the same street,
Just
so we're like,
mid-cone,
is
just like,
such-
yeah, all right. let's do it.
I still can't believe that is still such a dope story that you boys moved down the road so you could be closer to the studio.
"Yeah,
That's
100%.
fucking dope.
Yeah.
Fuck,
And
if I had the money,
everyone
I'd buy a house
Everyone
there."
that came to the studio knew these dudes as well. They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm going to head over there after you.
Fucking hell, mate. Look at it, yeah.
Yeah,
But so that was quite, again, soul destroying. And so I haven't really wanted to make so doing an album to begin with for me was a bucket list thing.
yeah."
Anyone
Had to tick it off the list.
Anyone that knows me, I'm a facilitator. I don't like to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
I like to be the person that helps other people.
Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, I love it when people respect me and give me a shout out, but it's
of
not the
course.
reason that I do it.
Yeah.
And being like the focal point, and it's just not for me.
Yeah. You just want to see it happen.
I would much rather make a dope album for you than
Yeah.
a dope album for me.
Yeah.
I totally understand, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like that in a lot of regards with a lot of what he does, like with doing shows and all that kind of stuff. And like, because he's been doing like a lot of stuff for the scene with doing all these shows,
Yeah.
a lot of people are giving him a lot of praise for that. And you see him go red and not wanting to have any part of it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not
how
really
you
what
are.
I enjoyed the time of actually doing the
Something
task,
about producers.
if you know what I mean, yeah.
I don't think it's just that. I mean, that could be, it's the personality type, which is why he chose
Yeah.
producing. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've said for a long time, and this is even before I'd spoken to Lucian, I was like,
Yeah.
there's a guy out there doing these shows, and go hit him up if you want a show.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of people that came to me and they're like, oh man, this Lucian guy, he said he could put me on a show. Like, should I do it? I'm like, man, you know what?
Do it.
Do it. Like these guys like Lucian, and throughout time, there's been a whole bunch of these guys, there's similar facilitators.
Yeah.
They do it for the right reasons. Of course, everyone wants respect. They want people to appreciate them.
Yeah.
But they're not doing it in a way that's
No.
like cunning or trying to rip people off. And this is
Yeah.
the issue, because there is a whole bunch of dudes that have in the past. They want
Yeah.
to get into promoting because there's money to be
Yeah, that's
made.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when someone like this comes
Broken
around
promises.
and does it for the right reasons, whatever they want, you fucking give them that respect.
Yeah, look,
Absolutely. And me and him became really good friends out of it.
Friends
I
out
just
of
did
it,
a couple of shows with him and then
They're more important than rappers in this scene.
Yeah.
Don't get
Oh,
me wrong. You
I
need rappers.
I
but you need
appreciate
the
that, yeah.
facilitators.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one else can exist.
Otherwise, there's no shows, there's no nothing.
And
You
it's
know?
the same thing with Sam and myself and a few of the other people that do it.
Yeah.
Like, you need the background people, and they don't get enough praise. But we don't do it for praise anymore.
No, it's not that. Like even when we had DMU, when we were doing the open mic hip hop on Wednesdays.
Yeah, it was all free. It was
Had all the
anybody
tough
could get
luck
up.
guys come
We had
through,
some
like-
15-year-old kid come up and his
Yeah.
dad brought him.
His
and,
dad
and he
comes
was
up-
dope. And we were all like, this is
Yeah.
sick, you know?
His dad came up and he goes, "Oh, look, I know it's a licensed area and stuff. My son wants to come in and spit some bars. Here's his USB. Can I actually check and see if his USB works?" And I said, "Mate, your son wants to come in." You're his
And
legal
everybody,
guardian,
and it was
bring him in.
great because
Oh,
like
mate, it was-
we built like what was cool about it, and it sucks that it had to end. But what was cool about it is through those open mic nights where it was just open mic, there was no shows set or anything like
I
that.
bought a set
We
of
kind
decks
of
and
built
just put beats on.
it kind of built its own little culture as like in a way, like there was already a culture in WA hip hop, but the culture that it built through that was like somebody gets up if there's their first try, you just support the guy, whether you think it's amazing or not. Like you support it, you don't big him up and go, that was the best thing I've ever seen, but you go, keep going, bro, you know.
See, and that's where the roots of WA hip hop comes from. You know, it comes from the fucking open mic stuff, you know, and very gradually everyone's like, but can I have a set? Can I do 15? And that's cool.
I've got messages.
The open mic thing is that's the creativity. You know, there's freestyle. There's like someone might want to just go and do an a cappella fucking poem. So, you know, all that.
And there was some nights. There were some nights where it just ended up being like me, Byron, Nicky Vale, Lucian, and somebody else. And we were just start rapping because it was fun. You know what I mean? Like, but then there were some nights where it was absolutely packed out, and we actually had to tell guys, you have to get off the stage now because more people need to come up. You know,
beautiful thing.
But also with putting on the shows and stuff like that, I used to get pestered like on my DMs and stuff like that. I want to do a show. I said, yeah. So I ended up actually making a list of like all these people that contacted me eventually, and every show I did, I just kept ticking off that person off that list. You know, I'm like, you want a gig? Sorry, can't do that. Well, how about the next one? And I was actually quite lucky with a lot of venue managers, and they were just like, convenience with Matt Hatton and stuff like that. They were just like, I'll let you do a monthly or something like that, and we'll just basically just cycling through rappers. You know what I mean? And, and if it's not stage time, like 17, K the Sovereign. They never really had a lot of stage time until we kept putting them on gigs and gigs and gigs, and
and now they're doing great things.
Now they're doing great things, man. And that's I love the fact more that they're out there doing their own thing and with their own crew and their own label and their own thing. And that makes me more happy than actually the whole thing. You know what I mean? So
like proud dad,
and
proud big brother moment.
Proud big unk moment. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So no, that's great.
Anything else you want to plug?
In terms of projects, geez, I mean, I don't think so, to be honest. You know, back in the day when I'd have an interview, I'd be like, I'll just hang on, fucking pull out. I also want to shout out this.
September fucking.
So make sure you email this person and you log on to this one and then call it. No, I mean,
getting pretty chill in your old age now.
To be honest, the grievous thing is the thing I'm most G'd up about, and I like being excited about one thing at once nowadays.
Do you still do a fair few, like, because I haven't seen you at a show DJing for quite a while now. Do you still do them every now and then? Or?
It's by design. I've got 2 kids, and my weekends are very precious to me. I don't want to be hungover, and I have so many kids' activities to do and take kids to now.
Because I remember back in the day, like before you had your kids, fucking, I'd see you at gigs, and it was you'd just be wandering through the crowd, and then you just see you like, oh hey man, and you just come over and you just be pissed and have a laugh, and it was
Don't get me wrong, I still do go, and I will definitely go more. Generally, if someone asks me to do a gig, I don't really want to do it that often, and so I'll highball them for the cost of it, and they say yes or they say no.
Try and bid yourself out of it.
That's right.
But if the money's right,
I still do a couple of SBX guys, and you know, wherever I'm needed and it's a good show, I'm happy to.
Also, certain people you want to be there for that show. You know,
like Matty B's launch was fucking amazing.
I can imagine.
We were busy, and
you were busy at the same time. And you know, and like if Bid ever wanted me to, or Downside, or any of those guys, I would. And Cogs, of course, you know, is one of my oldest mates in hip hop. So those guys for sure, I will never say no.
Last gig I saw you was at India Ocean Hotel when I helped promote with Downside. We had half the Flytrap Mafia on there.
That's right,
And I chucked you a Flytrap shirt. I'm like, hey, you want a shirt? I was giving them away everywhere, mate. I sold 0 merch that night. I gave fucking everything away, mate.
That's always how it ends up being. It sits in your closet for like 3 years, and then you just end up giving it.
They become cum rags. And you give
them on that note, we gotta go. See you later.
All right, catch you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
See ya.